Hello and welcome to Dash 28 Live. I'm your host, Mike Atkins, and today we have something a little different for you. We don't actually have a live battle report today. We are going to be setting up some matches for this coming weekend in a club challenge. I have here with me today Britton Williams, Tom Robinson representing the Northern Kings, and Patrick Zoro Allen representing the Tabletop Titans. And I'm going to turn it over to Britton to explain exactly what it is we're doing here on this broadcast. Britton.
Yeah, so this broadcast is to determine the matchups and scenarios and reveal the lists for each side for this upcoming sort of club in the Northern Kings and the Tabletop Titans.
You lost that for a second.
What was that?
Yeah, we lost you for a minute.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Cool. Well, sorry about that. But basically, we're just here to go over what the matchups and the scenarios are for this challenge. So the process we're going to do, all the lists for the players have already been submitted to Mike and I in the secret no one can look at vault that wasn't so secret for a moment. But the process is going to be, I'm going to roll a dice, and I'm going to pick either the Northern Kings or the Tabletop Titans based on that dice roll to make first pick. For matchup one. That first pick allows them to pick either the scenario or the matchup. If they choose the matchup, they get to pick which two players are playing without knowing the lists or the armies being played. It's blind. And then once that scenario or once that matchup is picked, the other captain gets to pick the scenario they're going to play from a short list of scenarios that we pre-decided. Once that has happened, so the matchup gets picked, the scenario gets picked, we will reveal the list for each side. The team captains will read them. This will be their first look at what their opponent's lists are. We'll do some quick comments on them, and then we'll move on to the next matchup. In the next matchup, the roles are reversed. Whoever picked matchup in game one now picks scenario in game two. Whoever picked scenario in game one now picks matchup in game two. I think I did those both the same. But that's the idea. It switches, so each side will get the same number of picks for matchup and picks for scenario. And we always pick the matchup first before the scenario gets picked. So I'm going to do the die roll now. High roll is going to be the Northern Kings. Low roll is the Tabletop Titans. And I rolled a 5. So Northern Kings get to pick whether they want scenario pick or matchup pick for the first game.
We'll take the matchup pick.
Okay. Who are you calling out?
Right then. So, since Dan King is traitor to Queen and Country, I'm going to pick him out myself.
So yes, Dan King. We have a geographically diverse Tabletop Titans here, which is ostensibly a Texas club with one Texas player representing. So, yeah, first matchup, Dan versus Tom. So over to you, Pat, to pick what scenario you're playing.
For scenario, we'll do Salt the Earth.
I knew that would come in. I was waiting for that.
Okay, so Salt the Earth, Dan versus Tom for game one. So
Right.
let's get into the lists.
Bring the lists up real quick. Wait, let me get the screen on one of the relevant lists first. So click over to Dan. We're doing Dan and we're doing Tom. Bring those up so we don't accidentally see any of the other lists that aren't supposed to be revealed yet. All right. Going to go on to Dan's list first. All right, there we go.
All right, so Dan is going to be bringing 3 regiments of zombies because they are super cheap and unlocks. Then 3 troops of rapes for all the nimble shenanigans. Then a werewolf of brew strength, and that is like the best way to run up. And then 2 hordes of whites, one with meat of madness and one of Blade of Slashing for a little bit of extra consistency and speed. And then Vampire Lord on Dragon with Blood of the Old King. And then a Revenant King on Undead Great Flying Worm. It's the longest name ever. With Brew Sharpness, so he's a mini dragon. Necromancer with Inspiring and Bane Chant, just for that little surge, Inspiring and Bane Chant. And Curse Pharaoh with Wings of Honey Maze, who is still one of the best picks.
All right.
Yeah.
Now over to Tom.
All right, and so I have the same League of Roddy list you've seen many a time. So a Horde of Foot Guard with Indomitable Will, keeping the defense 5. I've got a Horde of Knights, because that's my thing, with Brew Strength and Indomitable Will again, funnily enough. 2 Troops Mighty Scouts for a bit of chaff, and a Horde of Honor Guard with Jesse's Boots, and also Indomitable Will, obviously. 3 volley guns, because you can't buy more than 1 without taking 3. Yeah. Duke on Ancient Winged Dialers with the Staying Zone, and that's just to help his Iron Resolve and everything else to work a bit more consistently. Then 3 Wizards, 2 of them on pegs, obviously. 1 with Boomstick, the other with nothing on him. He's just naked. And then 1 on a horse with Inspiring Talisman and Bane Chant, just for that little backup inspiring if I need it for the chaff pieces. I'll play Horde of Dog's War with Indomitable Will, because why wouldn't you? And the Battle Shrine, because you can't take League of Roddy without it.
Pretty sure it just adds it in an easy army like Jarvis.
It's already on there, actually. It's weird. Yeah.
All right. So back to the second round lists? Or back to the second round matchup now?
Yeah, so the second round matchups, what Pat now gets to decide is whether, or Pat is now deciding pick for matchup, and Tom is choosing pick for scenario. Do you need a moment for your matchup pick, Pat, or are you ready to go right away?
Oh, no, we're good. Mark Taylor will take on Adam Padley.
Okay.
Can't type. There we go.
And then a scenario pick from Tom. Are you ready for that?
Yep, just bring it up. So we're going to go with Control.
Okay, so round 2 locked in. Mark, I gave everyone wrestler style nicknames in the preview article, and for Mark, sorry Mark, I put Who Taylor, because I think Mark's kind of a sleeper on some of the tournament scenes. Although he won Bug Eater recently, so he's losing his sleeper status. But and then if no one's seen a picture of Adam in a princess dress, that's a must see before this face off. So we have Mark versus Adam in Control. So Mike should be bringing up those lists, and we'll read through them.
All right, here is Mark Taylor's.
All right, Mark will be bringing 2 regiments of Impalers, one with Chant of Hate, one with Brute Strength, and then a regiment of Blade Dancers with Pathfinder. And he's doing a horde of Kindred Tall Spears with Hammer of Measured Force. And he'll be bringing 3 Cronebound Butcher regiments for some of that thick chaff. And then 2 hordes of Cronebound Fiends, one with Sharpness, one with Striding Boots. And then he'll be bringing 2 Soulbanes, both mounted. One of them has a Mournful Blade, so he'll have Duelist. And he has 2 Summoner Crones as well. One has Boots of Levitation and a Scepter, so that increases his Drain Life to 9 and allows him to move 12 inches while casting. And the other one has Inspiring Talisman, because Summoner Crones have Inspiring Cronebound only. So now he's all Inspiring.
Very nice. All right, and over to Adam.
And then Adam is bringing Night Stalkers. So we have 2 regiments of Scarecrows and 2 hordes of Scarecrows, some nice chaffy goodness. 8 Troop of Phantoms, nothing on them, just plain as they are. A regiment of Butchers and a horde of Butchers, because why not? They are amazing and a bit too good. 3 Mind Screechers, because again, if you could take 3 volley guns, you do the same 3 Mind Screechers. Feel that way inclined. A regiment of Fiends and a horde of Fiends, so it's like a built-in chaff and hammer combo of the same unit, just like with the Butchers. And then a Terror, big monster, very nice, I like him. A Shade, he didn't give him Boots of Levitation. I really wish he had, not Levitation, the Scout, wherever Scout is. He should have done
7
that.
Leagues.
Yeah, 7 Leagues, that's the one. Yeah, Boots of Scout. A horror with the boomstick and Bane Champ, because when you've got Lightning Bolt, more Lightning Bolt is also good. And finally, 2 Reaper Soul Drinkers. These are a real sleeper unit, I think, in the Night Stalker list. They are ridiculously cheap and very versatile. So that's what you got there for a nice little balanced overall Night Stalker list, but with a bit too much lightning.
This is balanced for Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's Adam, innit? There's going to be a lot of shooting. It just depends what the shooting is. It might be 200 bow shots, or it might just be as much lightning as you can get.
I got to be honest. I saw the scarecrows at the beginning, and I for a moment got worried he was bringing the missing Northern Kings all scarecrow list, and we were going to be in for an absurd-looking universal battle game with that. But yeah, it's two interesting lists. A lot of shared units because of the Night Stalker and Twilight Kin sort of overlap in units. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, they love butchers and they love drain life. And a couple of things I noticed in looking over all the lists, duelists seem to be really popular. I think most of these lists end up having at least one duelist in it. So I think they're going to be going after each other's individuals pretty hard in some of these games.
Great. So we're over to the next matchup pick to Tom. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I'll go with scenario for this one.
No, you picked scenario in the last one, so it is.
We alternate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking because I picked matchup first, but obviously then you picked something.
Mm-hmm.
Right then, we will go with John Quayle and Pat Zoro Allen.
There we go.
Okay. So you are placing the one non-Northern King, the mercenary, against the one Texas tabletop titan here.
There are only 4 Northern Kings. Like, we didn't have much of an option. There is the entirety of Texas to choose from, and you've got one.
Yeah, when I sort of did the chat to organize this with the Northern Kings, it was like, okay, all 4 of them here. I already know one's not going to be in. That's okay. And then with the tabletop titans, it's like, well, here's a few of the ones I know. And they started listing a bunch of people who might be in or out. And I'm like, I didn't even know they were tabletop titans. Cool. This is like a whole crew.
I think you just take a couple of
California
extra
chapter.
shirts with them. Yeah, I think you guys just take a couple extra shirts with you whenever you travel out of state to a tournament. Just sort of hand them out.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how we get sports votes.
Right. Free shirts.
Okay, so what scenario are you going to be playing, Pat?
We are going to be playing, let me make sure I get the name right, Plunder.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Okay, so it's Pat versus Jonathan Quayle playing Plunder. We'll see those lists coming up in a moment from Mike and read them off. All
right, so Pat's up first.
Second. All right. I'm taking 2 troops of ancients because I need inspiring, and 2 hordes of tyrants with the effigy, 2 regiments of Scorchwing, 1 with fire oil, 2 hordes of Rhinosaur cavalry, 1 with Strider and 1 with Pathfinder. And then I'll be taking 4 regiments of Ember Sprites. And then I'll be taking a clan lord. He has the effigy of fire. He's mounted on a raptor, and he goes boom. And I'll also be taking 2 battle captains on Rhinosaurs.
So we opted out of the. Did you have to unclick the Brew of Sharpness to even add another magic item? I figured that just is added automatically to the Clan Lord. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Not the dragon.
So that's not the dragon. That's the
sorry.
infantry.
This is the little guy. This is the walker. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's even funnier.
Seems funny. Yeah, and when I read this, I saw those 4 regiments of Ember Sprites, and I'm like, I've seen people take them. I don't think I've seen people take 4. And then I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Pat just found ghoul troops that shoot before they die. Okay, I know what's going on here.
Fearless ghoul troops that shoot before they die.
Fearless, right? Even better. Nice. Yeah, that looks like a fun Salamanders list. All right. And you're going to be playing against Jonathan. Have you heard
about the bird? Right. So, 3 troops of harpies. They're bird ladies. That's what they are. 3 hordes of icons. Funnily enough, things come in 3. So you got a Fire Oil, a Brew of Strength, and a Blessing of the Gods. And 3 more big birds this time. So you got 3 beasts of nature, all with the obligatory wings and attack upgrade. And then 3 Lycan-ish things. So you got 2 Lycan Alphas, Blade of Slashing and Crushing, because why wouldn't you? And then Moonfang, because Moonfang is probably the best thing in the herd list. And also having 6 nimble, speed 9, 10 things with Pathfinder and other shenanigans is great fun. And also the units also have Pathfinder and nimble. Yeah.
And everything else flies.
Yeah.
This is a 100% nimble or flying and nimble, I think, list. This should be a really fun game to watch. I think. It's going to be fun.
I like it. Nimbleverse. I'm actually not taking that much nimble this time, so I'll have to taste my own medicine.
I'm expecting a lot more of that kind of shenanigans from you, so I thought it was going to be a super fast game against you.
I think either way is going to be fast, because a good portion of my army is going to be closer to him before turn 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat, you're going to have to play by the normal rules of Kings of War instead of the normal way in which you play a skirmish game while we're all playing ranks and flanks. So, the final one. Sorry, but you
Jeremy versus Elliot, and
Yep.
Tom, you get the scenario.
Yep. So there are 3 scenarios left on the board. We gave extra to make it a little more tailorable. Scenario is obviously the more powerful pick overall in this. But yeah, which scenario do you want to bring in for Jeremy against Elliot? Battle of the nice guys. These are the battle of the baby faces.
Yeah, we're going to go with Dominate. We're going to have a nice pylon in the middle is what we're going to go for.
All right. No, I guess it doesn't really matter because we've seen all the
Okay.
lists, but they are already next to each other anyway, so here we go.
Yeah, Jeremy against Elliot, mid-table mosh, the pylon scenario.
We'll see. All right, up first we have Jeremy's list with Basilean.
All right, so we have Men-at-Arm Horde, or Spearman Horde with Healing Brew, because they cannot take the Aegis shard thing. We have 2 Gur Panther troops with Scrying Gem. We have 2 regiments of Paladin Knights, one with Sharpness and Aegis Fragment, and the other one with Pathfinder and the Aegis Fragment. We have 2 Hordes of Palace Guard with Dwarvenair and Chalice of Wrath. I don't think you can take them without those items. We have 2 War Wizards, one with Boomstick, and he's replaced his Fireball with Lightning Bolt, and another one with Bane Chant and Conjurer's Staff, and he's replaced his Fireball with Lightning Bolt as well. And then we have a High Paladin on Dragon with the Fragment and Life Leech. And we have Naeus Celitus for some nimble shenanigans, and we have Samacris, Mother of Phoenix, for some heal and short range lightning bolt, piercing fireball, however you want to call it.
Yeah, just because the Phoenix is the same points and nowhere near as good, so you've got to really have it.
Yeah. All right, and over to our last list from Elliot, also playing Twilight Kid.
Yeah, this is a weird one. Jeremy seems to have brought Elliot's old list. From the top, then we've got 2 Hordes of Tall Spears, one with Strength and one with Hate. So, a nice elite vicious block and another crushing spear block, which is a lovely matchup to all that cavalry.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
I like it. Spears doing work. You don't see it often. 2 troops of Throne Bound Gargoyles, because you've got to, haven't you? It's pretty much obligatory. And then his own version of cavalry, but better, Chrome-bound Abyssal Horseman with Sharpness and Blessing of the Gods. So that's a melee 2+ and a melee 3+ elite unit. Tasty. Troops over Breeze, because they're a lovely little unit. And then a Vault Thrower. I still don't know why he does this, but he swears by it. Only 2 Mind Screeches, not 3. Again, I don't know what's wrong with him. I've had words. We've got a Twilight Assassin. It's a lovely little unit which you don't see much of, and it's got the Inspiring Talisman because of, I guess he hasn't got enough Inspiring in the army. Okay, fine. A Soulbane with the Mournful Blade, the Scream Shard, and Mounted on a Horse, because Soulbanes are really awesome and one of the best things in the Twilight Kingdoms, and they're interesting. It's weird for elf characters. Summon a crone with Wings of the Honey Maze and the Scepter of Shadows, so you can fly around and do all the Drain Life goodness at Drain Life 9. Again, that's what you take the list for, isn't it? It's a lovely little unit. And then an Army Standard Bearer with Looting and Sexual Darkness, because fancy that.
For when that cavalry loses thunders.
Yep.
All right.
Or you back defense 5 Bazillions. Yeah.
All right. So there we go then. That is 4 matches set and scheduled. I'll bring them back up to remind everybody. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go, I'm going to go get in touch with the pairings of guys here and find out when they want to play, and we will be scheduling the matches for this upcoming weekend whenever is most convenient for them. And then we will post to Dash 28 and to Facebook to let people know when these matches are going to be over the course of the weekend. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. You can also subscribe to Dash 28 Live here on YouTube, and you'll get notifications as the matches get scheduled and be reminded when they're about to start. So anything else? Want to talk about the list a little more, the matchups a little more before we sign off?
Well, I'd love to get some predictions from the team captains on the spot. Obviously, do they think they're going 4-0 here, winning out? Are there any particularly tricky matchups or things that they're already looking at as a little bit trickier or scary? Any list surprises, stuff like that?
And remind us really quick while the team captains are thinking, Britton, how are we going to determine which team actually wins this challenge?
Yeah, so when we were thinking through this, there's a lot of different formats for sort of how you can do a team competition. For this one, we wanted to keep it kind of simple for this initial sort of exhibition run out. And the team with the most wins using Northern King scoring is declared the winner. That's how it is. There's going to be 4 games. Now, there's a quite possible likelihood that is equal, that we have, 2 wins and some draws or whatever each, or two wins each, 2 losses each, or some combination. So the first tiebreaker is the sort of battle points, tournament points that, so winning is all that matters for the first part. If it is a draw overall for who has the most wins, then it matters how much you won by, how much you lost by, how much you scored in a draw versus how much you lost in a draw. If that is still somehow remarkably tied, but possible with such a low set of games, then we'll go to attrition as a tiebreaker, because at the end of the day, be bloodthirsty. But yeah, I mean, straight up, it's whoever wins the most. So if it's a small win, a big win, for that first cutoff, it doesn't matter. Just win.
All right. So, Tom, what do you think about your matchup versus Dan, now having seen his list?
I'm happy with that. I was really thinking he was going to take the Brockless, which is why I wanted this matchup, because I know wherever Dan plays, it's going to be some form of very fast, very aggressive list, exploiting whatever's best thing in that army. So I was expecting Brox. I thought there might be Undead, because also it's Dan. And, so when it was Undead, it was pretty much the exact list I expected out of everybody. With the exception of the Werewolves of Brushen, because I think that's a pet favourite of his, and they are still excellent. They were amazing last edition, but I think it's because everything else on the Undeads has got better to compensate that. They're now just another really good unit which you don't see that often. So yeah, no, I'm happy with that. That's fine by me. I wish I'd taken 2 Spear Phalanxes on that. That'd been a nice little fuck you. All that flying white and such stuff going around.
Mm-hmm. Right. And his double dragons as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's Undead in it. They're cheap, aren't they? So.
It's Dan, right? He has to bring 2 big Grimly monsters.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember where he could afford to bring them. I can't remember this where he hasn't taken 2 big heavy flyers, because he always has. All right.
And Pat, having seen Jonathan's all nimble, all flying list, what do you think your chances are against him in Plunder?
First, I want to point out that Tom got out of a matchup against me right away, as soon as he can.
He had the choice. we left this in a blind call-out scenario, so that if anyone just really wanted to play each other in that first pick, they had the chance for the call-out, and the call-out was not taken there. But he decided to go after his traitor countrymen first.
Yeah. Just want to keep it drawn for a little bit longer. I see how it is.
Some things are more important than petty squabbles.
No, I actually really like John's list. It's something similar to what I'd run if I did run Herd. A lot of nimbles, always fun, and it does kind of limit the Ember Sprite's effectiveness a little bit because he can just jump over him with all of those beasts of nature. But it's going to be a good list. He definitely can't take a punch though, so it's going to be interesting if I can get to him. And set up the charges first, I think it's going to go downhill pretty quickly.
It's going to be a big game for board control, is that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's going to be a very interesting board control because he has all the speed, and but I have 6 units of chaff, so it's gonna be an interesting matchup.
Great. And then opinions on Mark versus Adam or Jeremy against Elliot, the battle of the nice guys.
So the Mark versus Adam one, I had a feeling as soon as you picked that thinking Adam was going to be bringing some form of bow line artillery thing.
Yeah, we were definitely expecting some sort of shooting. So the fact that he took lightning bolt, it's like, well, it's still shooting, but it's the anti-stealthy shooting.
Yeah, that was the thinking. We thought they're going to call out Adam because they're going to think he's had this list, then they'll have a Night Stalkers pick against it. So
Mark definitely feels validated taking Duelist over Veil of Shadows right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I quite like that that's quite a good matchup. I think because it's
I think it's going to be interesting. The Duelist Soulbane will have some nice targets in the Soul Reavers because those guys are good and they can do some serious damage if left unchecked.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy against Elliot.
So Jeremy definitely does not want to see 2 hordes of spears. Those over guard are
he's used to them.
Extra
he's used
work.
to fighting. He's used to fighting phalanx at this point. It's fine.
But he does have enough like maneuverability and stuff like that where he can try to avoid and pick his matchups. So I think that's going to be a pretty good game, and that one's going to be a very tactical game, especially because Jeremy's going to have to mitigate the impact of those guys.
Yeah, no, that should be a really good one because obviously Elliot has played Basilia forever, really. He did a lot of work with him in playtesting. We have complained at him about Samicus for however long when he used it, so it'd be nice to see him have to put up with it himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be 2 armies which are quite well because obviously Jeremy's got his own spear horde to deal with the cavalry.
Yeah,
it's gonna feel like a proper spears and anvil and a flank and hammer and anvil kind of game going on.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the one that's the most like a traditional, like what you imagine in a mass battle game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you guys put them in dominate, so there's not much. Like they both kind of have to do the same thing and end up in the middle. There's not a whole lot of being coy and standing back on objectives or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have to fight. So I'm glad that one's a fun scenario because it is 2 sort of what we think of as traditional wargaming armies. Solid blocks of infantry, hard-hitting cavalry, some units that are buzzsaws, and then some sort of utility pieces or powerful characters going around.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you have that kind of matchup where you have a lot of the same kinds of pieces, the small differences between the armies stand out a lot more. So sort of dragon on one side versus other sort of more scalpel type elements from Elliot's side, very sharp but need to be applied in the right places, makes an interesting matchup. Like those small differences become huge highlights for the game. So
I think it's gonna be interesting seeing the cavalry off because Elliot's cavalry obviously grinds a lot better after they hit, but they also are only 14-16 versus the 15-17 with Iron Resolve.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see which cavalry ends up doing the most work in both lists.
Yeah, I sort of wish we had a random Clocks of War game in this where like we just suddenly assign one of these games like a 25-minute clock overall and just like, okay, Jeremy and Elliot, you now have to play Dominate with these 2 matched armies in 25 minutes. Go. Just push everything forward.
I have a feeling mine and Jonathan's game are going to be over in about that amount of time. We're both lists that want to run towards each other. and my list starts off closer to him. So I think that's going to be a pretty quick game.
Sounds good.
I'll definitely sign up to host that one so I can get off with like a half an hour broadcast.
So, as Mike sort of said, we are going to be figuring out the schedule for these ASAP and posting them as soon as we have them. If anyone is interested in commentating on these games, get in touch. We are always looking for sort of willing and able commentators, and we'll see what spots we have available and can slot you in a game. So just get in touch with probably Mike. Mike's the easiest person to get in touch with for the commentating side. So
great. And I'll also be posting a link to the lists both in the comments or excuse me, in the description of this video and probably in the Dash 28 article where we announce this event to begin with. So if you're interested in taking a closer look at the lists between now and then, just look for those links. All right, and I think we are all done. So I would like to thank Britton for doing a lot of the legwork on setting this event up. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to thank Tom and Pat for joining us here and representing their teams and getting some fun matches set up for us. And I'd like to thank everybody at home for watching, and I'm looking forward to these games this weekend. So till next time, I'm Mike Atkins from Dash 28 Live. You stay safe out there, and we will see you next time.